Hi, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to the National Parents Union presents Speak Your Truth with yours truly, Vivett Dukes. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening in this holiday season that is upon us, for which I can speak for myself. I have much to be thankful for, and I'm sure if we think hard enough, and hopefully we don't have to think too hard, we can come up with things that we are thankful for. Tonight, I am the guest. Tonight is a moment of transparency, and tonight is a broadcast that I've wanted to do and needed to do for a while. Um, and it won't all be completed in its entirety, but it definitely will be a wonderful start to a much needed conversation. Hi, Natasha. Thank you for joining tonight. You're always a valued viewer. And thank you to all those who are here, all the consistent viewers that have supported Speak Your Truth and the National Parents Union from day one. All those who will watch this on the broadcast, thank you for your time. I'm here tonight. I'm my guest tonight because, the name of this broadcast is Speak Your Truth. And the reality is, there are many truths that I have not been speaking as it pertains to what it really is to experience reentry from incarceration from the perspective of the wife of the person who was formerly incarcerated. In my case, it was my husband, John, which many of you know John. So many of you started reading about John and I in 2016 when we got married, and I announced our marriage to the world, my family, to everybody, with the exception of a few close friends. Many were not privy to John's and my relationship at that time. He was incarcerated, and I've spoken openly about the embarrassment that I felt about having a spouse who was incarcerated, and the work that I did to get over that. And it was through that work, and really through the guidance of my husband and encouraging me to speak my truth, whatever that truth was about us, that I needed to embrace it and harness it, embrace it, and speak it. And by so doing, Speak Your Truth was born. And I started blogging about John's and my relationship and marriage on New York School Talk at that time. I was an avid blogger, and I was blogging about not only my relationship, my marriage, but about my life as a teacher and the things that I saw, and just so many of my own personal life stories. But I was really transparent. I think what resonated with people in those blogs, and you can go back and read them, they were good 2 solid years of blogs, like 2 blogs a week for about 2 years. Did that consistently, and spoke a lot about John. John was writing blogs from inside. John had other guys that he was incarcerated with writing blogs to give voice and agency to the very ones who were experiencing incarceration, as opposed to others telling their story and framing their narrative. And it really resonated with so many people. And I know that it was that work that we did that has afforded me and us this platform. Now, John, thankfully, one thing I have to be thankful for, like I started off the broadcast saying, one thing I have to be thankful for is that in 2018, on October 30th, 2018, John was released from prison. And so that started a new journey of our relationship. So at that time, I did about the last 3.5 years of his sentence with him. And we were married for 2.5 of those years. I'm not sure who you are in the chat, but you can excuse yourself. I'm not sure what you're looking for, but I don't think this is it. I just have to block that out. But I was, wow, this is a difficult topic. I didn't think it would be this hard, and I hope you can see my transparency. But I know that it's necessary. So John came home 2018, October 30th, and that started a whole nother aspect of our marriage. And quite frankly, it was one that I was not prepared for it. Um, I wasn't really, I wasn't really, I don't think anything could prepare me for it, to be honest with you. I think that the impact that incarceration has on people. Now, John was incarcerated for 20 years. Just sit with that for a minute. Just 20 years of anything is extremely long, you know? And to be incarcerated for 20 years, I don't think that when these long prison sentences are being doled out, there is much thought, if any, given to the impact that that will have on that individual and their family and their support system, not only while they're inside, but hopefully when they make it outside. And I say that, you know, with all jest, because not everyone makes it home. So I'm thankful that John made it home after doing 20 years in maximum security prisons. However, what it is now on the outside, because that can't be what defines him, nor it can't be what defines me, as always, you know, the wife of a formerly incarcerated man. It is both of our hopes that there will come a time when we can look back on that time in his life and never forget it, but to look back on it like, wow, well, that was some time ago. But right now it is very fresh. It is, yes, reconciliation. Not much thought is given to the reconciliation of that incarcerated individual and their family and support system when they come home and return to society as we know it. And you and I have gone through that without any interruption. Donnell, family is a very, very important to this reentry process. And if you are someone who is out there who is the family member of a person who is formerly incarcerated and who either has or is currently fresh and experiencing the reentry process, I would love for you to add to the comments tonight and ask questions. If you're out there and you know someone in that position, please invite them to log on, because I don't want the essence and what started Speak Your Truth to ever be lost. We are committed to the community that is impacted by incarceration, the men, women, and children, the families, the communities that are hit heavily by incarceration, the families that are really torn up because of incarceration. And in my case, the wives, not even going to say spouses, because I don't know what it is to be the husband of an incarcerated. I don't know what it is to be on the husband end. I can only tell you my lived experience. And as empathetic and as I am towards John, and as much compassion and such love that I have for him, I love him so much. It's hard. It's really hard. There's so much that he needs. There's so much that has been lost in those 20 years. In 20 years of being incarcerated and coming home to a society that is really digital, a society that's really like, that didn't slow down. We didn't miss a beat. And here he is trying to navigate his way through. And here I am trying to help, but at the same time, not wanting to help to the point where I feel like a social worker more than a wife, not helping to the point where I'm starting to become dismayed at times about, well, what is this really going to entail? I can tell you that one of the major issues is interacting with technology. especially in this time of the pandemic, when our existence really it relies exclusively, for the most part, on interactions via Zoom chats and Google Meets and all these other platforms. What happens when a person is not even really used to a cell phone, when they've never seen anything like that before? I know it may be hard to wrap your mind around that, but that really is a real concern. And what it's like for me as his wife is just a lot of helping. And I know as a wife, I'm a helpmeet, but it is really challenging to know how much to help and then when to fall back so that he can step up. And if it means he has to fail at something so that he learns, so he can grasp it on his own. Like seeing someone you love go through those challenges is very hard. There's also no support group that I have come across outside of one online that I have found. And I'm more of a voyeur on there, to be honest, than really a contributor, because I don't necessarily view it as a safe space. I feel safer here talking to you because at least I know this is my platform and it's kind of just out there in the ether. Um, Outside of that group, though, there is no formal like counseling or support group that I know of specifically for wives of formerly incarcerated men. Um, I know even for counselors, and John and I have spoken about this openly on this platform, where we have looked for counselors. Thankfully, we found one, so excellent. But it was 2 years in the making. It took a really, really long time. And it still is via remote, which it's challenging to connect and talk with someone about such personal things. Um, a lot of counselors are not really knowledgeable about incarceration, much less about reentry. Um, and the biggest thing is just what he doesn't know, and discovering what he doesn't know and going through that journey with him, and knowing, when to help, when not to help, how much help. Um, and I just find that it's something, and I know I'm not the only wife out there of a formerly incarcerated man, but for some reason there is trepidation to talk about it. And there's not some reason, I do understand why. You have to cover your marriage. You can't just put yourself out there like that. You can't put your marriage out there like that. Um, you know, but I do think there's something to be said, if I'm going to come on here and build a platform about speaking your truth and encouraging others to do so, and I'm not speaking my truth. Um, and I need to do that tonight. And I need to do that with no guests, with no one, just me and the viewers and the people who have supported us, no, regardless of what platform you're on. If you're on Facebook, thank you. On Twitter, thank you. On our page, Speak Your Truth, thank you. Um, it's very, hi, Eva, how are you? I think it is just really necessary that we start to pull back the layers of what incarceration really does to families. And if my family and my marriage can be that face for you, and in us sharing our stories, we can start to get to the root of the matter. We can start to inform policy changes about long prison sentences. We can start to have families get out from under that shrouding of shame that is very much a part of incarceration and how society views it. If we can start to pull away those onion layers, and as a society really look at, why do we incarcerate people for so long? Why is the United States the only country in this world that incarcerates at such a high rate? What is going on? The country's in disarray. There's no doubt about that. And as we fight for the many freedoms that we hold near and dear as Americans, because that is an American principle, right? Freedom with liberty and justice for all. Where is the liberty and the justice in incarcerating people for decades and providing them with no kind of resources or ways to begin to reacclimate themselves into society? I'm very grateful, and we've had one of John's professors on our show in a previous broadcast, Professor Dr. Mickey Shaw, and she talked about even the challenges in a prison that offered education, higher education. There were so many obstacles and challenges and loopholes to jump through. Why? Why is that the case? And what is our expectations for returning citizens when they come home? Hi, Gabby. Hi, Erica. Thank you all so much for being here, for your support. I really appreciate it. This is extremely difficult. I'll say it again. I'll probably say it more before this broadcast is over tonight. What is our expectation? What is our wish for those who come back? Because they've served their time, they've paid their dues to society. That part of the sentence has been done. Do they come home now to another sentence? What careers, and I want to be clear, not jobs, because we want careers. There's 20 years is a long time. And those 20 years, it was then that many of us began and established ourselves in our careers. What do you do with people who are coming home in the middle of their lives, right? They're midlives now, 40, 45, 50 years old. What are they going to do in terms of a career to really be contributing positive members of society? Because that's what we want, right? That was why they had to pay that price, right? You did something wrong and they pay the price. John paid the price. And a lot of times it feels like we are still paying a price. And if we as a whole, all of you out there who say, oh, we love you and John, we love hearing your story, this is a part of our story. Yes, the love story is real. The love story also has a backdrop that's filled with trauma, a backdrop that has the residue of incarceration very apparent on its skin. And I guess I'm reaching out tonight to find out who else is going through this, and can we band together and really start to provide what is not out there, which is transparency and honesty about the impact of incarceration in terms of re-entering society and what that re-entry process is like for the support system, for the people who are helping that person reacclimate themselves. If you are an organization, a company, and you hire returning citizens, do you have the proper training in place? Are you truly understanding of some of the traumas that they are coming out of and working through, while at the same time meeting requirements of family, meeting requirements of parole if they're on parole, meeting requirements of themselves, getting back in touch with themselves, even to know what to wear? Think about it. When you're incarcerated, you don't really choose your clothes. You have that part is kind of like eradicated. You have green pants that you wear. You may have a few tops, shirts that you change. And now you come out to, here I am, like, hey babe, what are you gonna wear today? And getting dressed. And he's like, I don't know. You pick it, you choose. I didn't realize things like that would be obstacles, or not knowing how to swipe a Metro card. Metro cards weren't around 20 years ago. Not knowing how to join a conference call. not, there are a lot of not knowings, you know? And then what support is there for us, for me, you know, who is the one really hearing all of the not knowings. It's the spouse, just like in any like close relationship, is that significant other that really is carrying that load with you. Um, and so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the love we have because the love really helps us carry the load. I'm really grateful for my faith because my faith gives me strength to really go on when I feel like I don't have the strength. I'm faithful for my support system, my friends and my family that um, continue to encourage me. But I need you all to know that this is not a walk in the park. This is not a piece of cake. This is not easy. This is not anything that is just light or easy breezy by any stretch of the imagination. Each and every day I come across something new that my husband needs support with, while at the same time, you know, like all of you, working and caring for family and paying bills and helping others and the community and all of the things that, you know, all of us do with that on top of it. um, so I just wanted to share that with all of you tonight. We won't be broadcasting on Thursday this week because it is the celebration and giving a day for giving of thanks. I would hope that we would give thanks every day. I know I have much to be thankful for. Um, I do. We made it this far, John and I, and it's nothing short of a miracle. Anyone, and kudos, shout outs to everyone who has made it through the torment of prison. I can't even begin to wrap my mind around some of the things that John has shared with me about his experience in prison. Just the thought of it gives me an uneasy feeling inside of my body, much less to really experience it. And kudos and to all of the family members who supported their loved ones who were incarcerated during their time of incarceration with visits and packages and making sure their commissary was filled and boosting them up, answering those phone calls every time they called. We know what that's like, and that is crucial to getting them to this point now where they're outside, they're reestablishing themselves in the community. How do we do it? And who's here to help us? So, this is really not only a moment of transparency, it's also me reaching out for help. And asking for help is not always easy to do. Um, I joined the National Parents Union and decided to align Speak Your Truth, John and I, with the efforts of the National Parents Union, in large part because they were receptive and open to making the plight of currently and formerly incarcerated parents a part of their mission. If you go to their website, it is broadcasted there. And I know that it is John's and my work with them that has really caused that to be the case. So while we're, you know, doing this work, I'm not willing to sacrifice our marriage for it, nor do I think that anyone is asking to. But all of that sharing and talking that I was doing when I was blogging while John was inside, I realize now that the sharing was really therapeutic. It brought all of you in because I didn't physically have him next to me, you know? And so it really provided that community and support that I so needed. But now that he's home, it's like I stopped writing about it. I stopped really talking about it in terms of this aspect of it because I just didn't know how to broach the topic. And the times when I did try to broach it, even in my intimate circles, there's just such little knowledge about incarceration, even from those who are experiencing it. While they know, there is this wall that I found that's put up like, no, we don't want to talk about that. Or Vivett, you're bugging out. You're out here putting your business on blast. You're on social platforms. But it's not that. I just know that if we don't talk about it, if we're not like open, then nothing's going to change. Hiding things and being shameful about things and not talking, it never changes anything. It doesn't. And I know that the minute I started speaking my truth, when I started speak your truth, John and I, like, people started coming out of the woodworks. Listen to me. People I was around, people in my church were like, oh, my son was incarcerated too. My husband was incarcerated, my daughter. And I'm like, really? And we've been fellowshipping every week and we talk and we never shared that. There were women and men. How do you think Speak Your Truth grew? Strangers. This is not with people I know personally or intimately. It just resonated because, listen, if we're locking up millions of people, America, what about their families? And yes, I had to elevate my voice on that one. What about their families? I speak openly about their children. I've kind of picked and chosen what aspects of the reentry process and incarceration were safe for me to talk about. And one of them has been the impact of incarceration on the children of those currently and formerly incarcerated, because I've gotten to see that firsthand, not only through students, but through my own daughter, Sean's daughter. He came into our marriage with a daughter, and she did that time with her father the entire time. And they have one of the tightest, most loving, most honest, open, like beautiful father-daughter relationships that any of us would ever want to see. Certainly one of the closest I've ever been privy to being, to seeing and being so close to. What about all the other children though? What about those kids, as Erica Perez, hey Erica, is saying here? What about the children? What about the spouses? What about the moms who spent 20 years of their life going up to the prison to see their child, making those trips early morning? Listen, one day I'm going to really talk to y'all about what that was like. I'm traumatized by it. There is such a big stigma, Don, such a huge stigma. And Naomi, it was a secret, never discussed. It's nothing new. This has been going on. America's incarceration rates just continue to rise. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the documentary 13th. And I know, Eva, you can tell us about that. Something that we will teach together. But seriously, there's a huge stigma associated with incarceration. It's about time. Listen, if you're going to incarcerate people so much, then how about you provide some healing or some help? How about you stop incarcerating people so much? Because it's damaging. It's damaging. You're damaging 20 years, 25 years. John has friends at 30. One time I was with him and like 4 of his boys, and between the 5 of them, there was over 125 years of incarceration. Between all of the 5 of them, that's just 5 men. And they were standing there, and I welled up. This is what we're doing. We got to tap back into humanity. We have to. We have to tap back into humanity. And I'm propositioning, commissioning, soliciting all of you out here under the sound of my voice, whether it be live, whether it be on the replay, to really start to think about what long prison sentences are doing to our families. I want to say our American families, but I got to make it more specific than that, because not every American family is impacted by incarceration. It is Black people, Indigenous people of color, the BIPOC community, and I'm going to speak about the Black community because that's the one I come from and what I know. We are disproportionately impacted by mass incarceration. There are whole communities wiped out, essentially, that are lacking strong male presences, because literally all the dads, the uncles, the big brothers, they're incarcerated. And you know when we see them? When we go on visits. When we go on visits, that's where they are. That's where they are. Locked inside of prisons for 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. Like, that's an average sentence, with no hope for parole until like your 19th year. Like, that's a long time before no one really stops to check in to say, oh, let's see how you're doing. Have you made any progress? And if the purpose of the penal system, if you are essentially the Department of Correction, of Community, what is it? Department of Correction and Community Supervision, DOCS. Where is the correction? It took you 20 years to correct someone? It's a long time. Too long. Too long. And I'm telling you, it hurts. It hurts not only when they're inside, and I know it's supposed to. They're there because they are believed or have done something wrong. However, it hurts long after they're released from prison. It hurts years after they are released from prison. Now we're talking about, think about some of the things that go on in prison, okay? And even if you don't know firsthand, if you're just judging by, our society's obsession with prison, we have so many reality shows about it, and we're so curious about it. But look at how we responded to this pandemic and being locked in. People won't do it. First of all, we weren't locked in. People refuse to even do that. People can't stay inside for a day or two. We're telling people quarantine for 14 days. That's 2 weeks. Quarantine for 2 weeks. Can't do it. What about people incarcerated who are isolated in self-solitude for years, days, weeks, months, years on end? What does that separation do to them mentally? What does that do? Erica says, I know my community outreach has assisted so much, or the EAC outreach has assisted with my daughter who is acting up because of the absence of her father. Communities need more counseling organizations focused on children doing bids with their parents. Oh my, thank you, Erica. Thank you, Erica. This is what I'm talking about. Erica, John and I are doing our best to bring these services to the National Parents Union as something that will be provided. And we need to know from the community, just like Erica is sharing, what do you need? I'm going to piggyback on that, Erica, and say, you also, just like I do, whether that is still your significant other, there's a connection, because guess what? The child cannot go see the father without some adult in that child's life bringing them up to that prison. And that adult needs support also. That adult needs support. Trust and believe. Where is the support for them? We're just going to lock up all these people, incarcerate them, and then not provide any support at all? How is that right? It's not right. That's really what it boils down to. That's the answer to the question. It's rhetorical. It's not right. It's never been right. It has to end. Something has to be done. So something needs to be done on the policy side to reduce extended prison sentences. Come on, we got to reframe this whole thing. While we're reimagining a lot of things in America, and I think that this system, this criminal justice system that we claim to have, that is founded upon systemic racism, it needs to also be reevaluated, reassessed, reimagined. It needs to be torn down. How about that? Yeah, it needs to be just torn down. Let's just eradicate this whole thing and build it, restore, and do things that are healing. Because we have to think about, we've had several guests on the show who have been formerly incarcerated, and all of them have one thing in common. I encourage you to go back and look at previous broadcasts. They all experienced some trauma early on in their lives that contributed directly to their incarceration. They all, from now my teacher hat on, they all were students who really weren't doing well in school, who were just kind of like surface or stopped going to school. There was truancy. There was a lack of connection in school. So to all my teachers out there, we got to look at that. Whatever lane you're in, start to think about the role that incarceration plays in your field and what you can do as a professional in that field to bring healing, to bring advocacy, to bring agency, to bring voice to the very people who are impacted by incarceration. Dr. Anjali, I know you are one of these, a very gifted therapist she is. If you don't know Dr. Anjali Lafarie, you need to tune into her. Her broadcast is on Friday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern time on NPU. You hear my my Jamaican accent coming out? Yes, because I'm feeling so passionate about what I'm saying. It does come out then. And thank you for your support, because you have been one of my trusted, a trusted part of my support system. And exactly, Naomi, the children didn't do anything. Why are children suffering? Really and truly, why are children suffering? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Erica, I'm glad that you have the support that you have. EAC Outreach, shout out to you. Thank you for the work you are doing. Naomi, thank you for your transparency here tonight. We're 40 years later and you've never even talked about it with your parent. Naomi has been on this show multiple times, and on one of the broadcasts she shared that for a period of time, her mother was incarcerated. And she's saying now, 40 years later, she's never talked about it. It's just like, shh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And maybe if we don't say anything, it'll go away. That's not true. If you don't say anything, it perpetuates, it becomes pervasive, and that's what's happening. Listen, it's time to break down these walls. It's time to break it down, shut it down. The families of formerly incarcerated men, women, and children, yes, children, because children are incarcerated. In Florida, they're locking up kids at like 6, 7 years old because they didn't attend school, like dumb stuff, okay? We're hurt. We're hurting. We're going through a lot. I'm going to make it personal. I am going through a lot as the wife of a formerly incarcerated man. And I'm here tonight because I'm willing to step up and step out and say it. I went first. I said it. Who else is with me out there who says, Vivett, I too am going through this and I need some support? I've been looking for it, and it seems like I'm going to have to create it because I've yet to find it. So I'll create it because, marriages that have a partner who was incarcerated, the divorce rate is very high. It's extremely high. We have a lot of things stacked against us, John and I. But we refuse, because it's a joint partnership. We refuse to let the system destroy our love, destroy our marriage. Are you kidding me? Never. Docs, you will never get that joy. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm adamant about that. And I'm committed to that. And I believe there are many other marriages that are going through so much, and they don't have the support. And it's only because the lack of support. It's not because of the lack of love. Because anyone who does a bid with someone, there's love. There's no glitz and glam in it. Let's be real. There's none. It's love. It's just that sheer agape love, one human to another. Like, yo, I feel you. I got you. I love you. I'm with you along this journey. Isn't that what every marriage is supposed to be comprised of? That is my understanding of marriage, and every marriage needs support. And I'm thankful to those who are supportive of us. And if you need support, then continue, please reach out. Reach out to me. You don't have to reach out to the entire National Parents. Reach out to me, Vivett at mpunion.org. Reach out to me and let's see what we can do, what we can build here, what Speak Your Truth can do. If you're a therapist and you are able to provide services, can you please make yourself be known? If you are a parent and you need support, if your child, like Erica Perez came on here and was brave enough to say, my daughter is acting up because she misses her dad because of her father's incarceration. Erica Perez is not the only one. There are others. Please make yourself be known. You have a safe space. You have a safe space here. 10 years is a long time. I always say to John that I re-entered his life at the right time because I did like the last 3.5 years of his bid with him, and it was hard. Like that that 6 months, I was ready. I was like, nah, I'm out. I can't. It's too much. Between the nasty correctional officers, and there's just so many things I had to go through. Every time I wore something, these people, like, it was like they were trying to break me down, and I felt myself like, yo, I'm about to pop off one day if they keep coming for me. And I felt it rising where I was ready to leave. But the love kept me. Another 10 years, there's a major decisions to be made. Nothing. I cannot weigh in on that. It's a definite crossroads, Erica. What does Erica do? I'm not asking for a solution to her crossroads. What I'm saying is, where does she go? Where do parents now, right? They share a child. Where do they go to say, I still want to co-parent with you for the betterment of our child, but I really do not want to continue to deal with you and the criminal justice system and the prison system. It's a lot. How does she navigate that? Erica, we're sending you hugs. We want you to know that I hope you see these messages. And yes, I'm being vulnerable tonight because I know that healing comes through vulnerability. I know that it takes, somebody has to set it off. And I believe that I've been equipped by God for such a time as this, to be that one in this space, in this time. Because yes, Don, time is irreplaceable. That time, those 20 years can never be gotten back at all. It's done. And even that is a lot to go through. It's a lot, like what I see, what I experience as John's wife is a lot of discovering what one doesn't know. And that can be so unnerving when you think that you're good, or inside, inside you get to a place when you're in prison, from my understanding, from what John has so lovingly shared with me, you feel like you're good. You understand, you've learned how to work this system. And then you come out here and you realize, I'm like a fish out of water, but I shouldn't feel this way, because isn't this like the real life? This is what I've been fighting to get back out to. So it's like a man-child in the promised land. It's like, where do I go? What do I do? And so it's hard to help when the person you're helping doesn't even fully know what they need help with, if any of that makes sense. It's a very unstable, like this body language, that's what it feels like. So imagine going through life doing this kind of dance, this uneasiness, unsteadiness. It's very challenging without like a clear-cut support system. I thank you, Don. Thank you. You've been a supporter of John and I and our marriage and our story pretty much from day one. Shaniqua Rogers, I don't know you by name. It's not ringing a bell, but thank you for being here tonight. I think you're tagging Belinda Molina to join. Belinda, I hope that you do join or that you watch this on the replay and that something here resonates with you. I'm going to put my contact info, Vivett at npunion.org here in the chat for anyone who is interested in contacting me. Yeah, if you're interested in contacting me, if you're interested in contacting National Parents Union, you can do that. If you're interested in learning more about Speak Your Truth, the information is there on the banner going across. I will be doing work like this with the National Parents Union and Speak Your Truth for sure. This is a platform that is committed to making sure we address the needs of the formerly incarcerated and their family members. So, and currently incarcerated as well and their family members. So just know that I'm not going anywhere. This situation is not going anywhere. And tonight just seemed like a night for me to get on and say what needs to be said about my journey and begin to speak my truth with a new voice, one that I have yet to really share. And it's taken these 2 years of John being home to really feel like I'm equipped to come on here and talk without breaking down and crying. Wow. Naomi shares with us that I could barely manage a trip to the supermarket with my brother, helping him understand cost per ounce and packaging to stretch his budget. It was a simple trip, but it was so hard. I can't imagine navigating a marriage. This is very challenging. It's challenging in ways I don't think people really understand or that people even want to understand, to be honest with you. Because it hits a chord. It strikes a nerve. But I don't want us to glamorize incarceration. I don't want us, I know you see John and you see me and you're like, they're fine. And yeah, we're good, we're tight, we're in love, we have that. But trust and believe, as hard as marriage is, the challenges of marriage are extremely compounded when one or both partners is formerly incarcerated and is a returning citizen who is doing their best to get their feet on solid ground now that they've been released from prison and are outside. So with that, I thank all of you for being here tonight. I said this was going to be a short broadcast and it ended up being almost the full time, which is fine. I believe that lives were touched by what was shared tonight. If you have a story to share, particularly around incarceration and the impact that it's had on your life, on your family, and you are willing and want to be a guest on this platform, please contact me at Vivett at npunion.org, Vivett, no E at the end, at npunion.org. I would love to talk with you. I would love to see how we can have you on as a guest to bring, to speak more power to the truth and speak truth to the power of vulnerability, of transparency, of love, and to really show the harm that prison does to our families and to our marriages. And to ultimately rise from that, to build a support system, to build that system here in Speak Your Truth, in the National Parents Union, to be what is not currently provided. I call on you. I cannot do this alone. John and I cannot do this alone. We need your support. We're thankful for it. And that is what we will be giving thanks for, that we give thanks for every day and what we give thanks for on this upcoming Thursday. Just love, seeing through We talk about the many Thanksgivings that we had while he was inside cooking the meals that I think he would like. And just as Naomi said, there's just always this like you're living, but you're not fully living because your mind is always with that loved one who's incarcerated. And now once they come home, it's like those of us up close and personal, we get to see what they're going through. And it hurts anytime anyone you love is hurting. It inevitably and inadvertently hurts you also. And we need support. I need support. We need support. I'm not going to stop saying it. I need support. We need support. Returning citizens need support. Shout out to all the men and women who have come back home to us, who have found their rightful place back home in their community. We welcome you back with open arms. So happy you made it through that torment, that hell. And now that you're home, we're committed to helping you like we need to help ourselves get the support that's needed. So, with that, I thank you. We won't be airing this Thursday for Thanksgiving. We will have not us, but the National Parents Union is broadcasting a special show through the nightly restorative check-in. It's going to take place on Wednesday evening. Dr. Anjali, if you're still here, I believe you will be a guest on the show. I know Marisol Quevedo Rerucha, she's going to be the host of that show. That restorative and that nightly check-in has been really healing for me, and I think it would be wonderful for all of us to be there. But until that time and until we meet again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Shaniqua. Thank you, Belinda. Thank you, Dr. Anjali Lafori. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Eva, for being here on tonight and for sharing time with us here. Time, as Don said, that can never be regained. You have a wonderful rest of the night. And I hope that I've demonstrated tonight that even when it's hard, still speak your truth because it matters. Good night.